11 points. That's all that's needed now, Reds. It's needed crunch time for this season. We're in it to win it. A massive result already kind of seen this morning. Everton doing us a solid. And now we're going to be talking about Liverpool taking on Fulham and what may be the final stretch. I'm joined by the brilliant Drew. How are you, Drew?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Charlie?
Yeah, not bad. I'm guessing that you woke up to some good news this morning, seeing Everton and their leader Tarkowski, who probably shouldn't have been there, doing us a solid and getting a really good point against Arsenal, which kind of leads on to other things and the potential for number 20 coming a little bit sooner than we expected, but nonetheless hopeful.
Yeah, 4:30 match for me, the Arsenal Everton. Normally I'm on rival watch for those final few months, but I was like, I'm just hoping I wake up to a pleasant surprise. And despite Everton frustrating in the regards of Tarkowski's challenge, which was a clear red, at least the Blues did us a favor this morning, and it was definitely a great way to start my morning.
Good. And that's what people need on the weekend. And so we are joined, and I've never kind of done a stream with this man, but I've always heard he's like a myth, like the enigma, someone that you've heard of. He does something in the background, but he's you're not too sure what's going on. But Anthony, I'm really pleased to finally get on the stream with you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I appreciate that introduction, the myth Anthony, but
the man,
yeah,
the myth, the legend.
It's good. Absolutely, but yeah, it's obviously good. I had a small inkling that Everton were going to get a point against Arsenal. I thought they'd beat them, to be honest, but we'll take a point and 4 more wins, and that secures us the 20th title.
Yeah, exactly. So before the actual Everton Arsenal match, it was down to like four wins and a draw that would see us through. But with the result today, actually we're down to 11 points, and essentially what it means is it's four wins now until the end of the season, and number 20 is here, second league title in 5 years, which is a better way of saying it, rather than some other pundits in the media who will say, oh, it's the second title in 30 odd years or whatever rubbish that they want to say. I don't want to mess up the algorithms and the monetization of our channel, but those are the things that we have to deal with. Second league title in 5 years, probably, and should have been more if it weren't for a particular cheating club, and we'll find out about the situation with them pretty soon, I'm sure. But we're going to be talking about the away match to Fulham and what it could mean, and try to get a bit of understanding as to team selections and how we can go ahead with what we're going to be doing. Drew, we're going to come to you quickly, really first about this, about the feeling about the game coming up tomorrow. You got any general thoughts about Fulham away? Is it something that kind of gives you trepidation, or now are we just in kind of the final stretch, coasting? Let's get to league title itself.
Yeah, it's a mixed feeling because it's so optimistic after the result today from Arsenal, where you're just like, it just seems like things are going for us in the league. But that being said, we know you can't like take it easy against Fulham. You don't want to count the points before you get them. So I'm sure Slot will have the team set up that way. I'm sure everyone from like leadership of Van Dijk to Salah on down will be focused on getting these points in the bag, because Fulham away is not an easy game. Like we've seen a few, like what did we draw against them 2-2 last season? Was it opening day of the season? Not this season, but last season. That was when Nunez got one of the goals. We had to claw back.
Yep, that was you're right.
Mitrovic, that kind of year. Like they have players who can get at you. They're really well coached. Marco Silva, he's set them up well. Again, they have stuff to fight for too. Like they're in that mix for European places. So they're not they're not on the beach yet. And this isn't a game where you can just walk it out and just expect a win. Like again, like Everton, who don't really have much to play for, are still giving it to the teams they're coming up against. And I think that's pretty much as people said this Premier League season's a wash. I think it's been so competitive, and these tables that traditionally you might expect to waltz over are giving a lot of top teams some problems, and that's why the race for European places are so tight. So it's going to be a tough match tomorrow, but I think probably the adrenaline's going to be up, especially after the Arsenal result today. And the players will probably want to win this as soon as possible just to secure that, as you said, second title in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, just giving a little bit of respect to Fulham and what they've done. Okay, that they've won 2 out of the last 5. Unfortunately, that does mean they've lost 3 of that 5 as well. But they're on 45 points. They're 10th in the league table. 45 points kind of makes them 5 points behind Newcastle in 6th. So that kind of Europa League spot is available. They're 6 points behind Man City, which is Champions League spots. I know it's 5th place, but I think the expectation is that the league is going to get 5 Champions League spots for this season, for next season itself. So, you know, from a Fulham perspective, they are in the conversation for European spots. It just kind of indicates how competitive this league is, because just above them on equal points is Bournemouth, and we were talking, you know, a lot of people have talked up Bournemouth, haven't they, Anthony? And so there's certain things about Fulham and what they've done. They got a 2-2 draw earlier in the season, and this is the game where Robertson got sent off pretty early, and we had to kind of fight back. You know, looking at that game, I don't know if you remember much from that. It's probably one of those forgettable games. But it's important to remember it's just one of those things that we got through. We had a poor stretch of games. We had a lot of games at that period. Robertson had come back and he was performing pretty poorly. He got himself sent off. And then at that point, we probably could have won that game, right?
Absolutely. I think Robertson being pretty poor is probably a bit of an understatement as well into how bad he was. But I remember there was an instance where Diop possibly could have got sent off. Pereira could have got sent off. We could have had a penalty on Joe Gomez in that match. But you look how tight our fixtures have been recently with Fulham. Even the match we won last season at Anfield 3-2, or was it 4-3, where we relied on Endo and Trent in the last minute to score winners for us. 2-2 this season, like Drew brought up as well. Last couple of seasons ago, we drew 2-2 to Fulham opening day. Last season, we relied on Gravenberch to score outside the box and win 2-1 at Craven Cottage. So it's got to be a tight match. It's not one of them we can overlook. I expect us to win. Obviously, we just naturally got better quality players, but it's one of them where it's like, I'm not going to think it's the end of the road if we drop points, or this is the point we bottle it, because I think this is probably one of our toughest fixtures come towards for the rest of the season. Probably Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is number 1, and then I'd say Fulham away or Brighton away is probably next up, because those fixtures, you know, whenever they're away from home, fans tend to get up for them. I think Konate said it in a recent interview, like teams, whenever Liverpool go to their home stadium, they try 100,000 times more, and I think this is one of them matches where it could happen, but we've still got more than enough quality to win. I think there might be some rotation, maybe Gakpo starting left wing just to give Diaz a rest, or Jota a rest as well. Maybe Nunes might come in, but I'm hopeful, and I'm very confident we can get 3 points.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think what Konate was saying, they looked at the data, and it isn't just, you know, the feeling and being really, really Arsenal and saying tin pot kind of theories out there. You know, they looked at the data and they can see that comparing opposition teams and how they perform and how much they run against other teams up the table, the teams that play us perform higher, they run harder, they run longer, and so it's just one of those things. Liverpool's always kind of going to be gargantuan for other teams to play against, because they feel they can get, you know, it's a strange kind of mentality. Rather than performing every other game, it's just a case of your cup final is Liverpool. It's a bigger fixture for a lot of teams. The history between the teams, possibly, or, you know, the make believe rivalries that we do have with those teams, just makes it a bit more of a interesting glamour type for a lot of teams across the land. And, you know, even in Europe, PSG playing us, they probably wouldn't have performed as well as they did if they were playing any other teams. But they got themselves up for that fixture. So we're going to come to the actual team selection, I'd say, and just go through the different positions. If you guys don't mind that, because I think there's certain things that we do need to change from last time. It's just to keep freshness, because after this game, we go to one fixture a week, and that kind of gives us the more ability to rotate, keep people fresh, and which is really, really important as we get to the end stretch itself. So interestingly, goalkeepers, Anthony, I'll come to you really, really quickly about this one. Kelleher came into the last game, didn't really do much, as much as, you know, Everton tried to do what they wanted to do. They got a little bit of fortunate play in the first half against us when Virgil kind of went walkies, trying to do kung fu kicks on against fresh air. I'm not too sure what he was doing. He got a little bit rattled. You can see that in his post-match reaction to certain questions as well. He felt probably he didn't perform as well as he did, and also Kanate as well. So I feel maybe there's something there where they didn't completely trust Kelleher. I'm sure there's trust, but when it comes to Alisson, when you got that man behind you, it kind of speaks volumes as to how you perform as a central defender. So in that respect, do you think Alisson will be coming back into the team?
I mean, I'm not a concussion expert in football, but I hope he comes back, because he's the best keeper in the world. But if he's not back, I'm not too concerned, because I think Kelleher, he does a good enough job as a number two. He's one of them where I think we can, you know, sing his praises, and he is a very good keeper when he does come in. But if we were to trust him across a whole season, for me personally, I wouldn't prefer that. He is a good keeper, but I think he tends to have that mistake in him. You look at the Newcastle away match, but again, like he's been solid. There's no need to sort of you know, send hate about him. But I think Alisson, if he is fit and he's fine, then he starts definitely. And like you say, I think Van Dijk and Konate probably get way more confidence. Even whoever's playing right back and Robertson as well. I'm sure they'll be confident with Alisson behind him.
Yeah. And Drew, what are your thoughts about Ali coming back? He's the best in the league, best in Europe, I'd say. You know, do you think it's just a case of right? He's ticks to the boxes. He's done the concussion tests, and as assuming that he's okay, he comes back in for you.
Yeah, I think Slot said in the pre-match press conference that if Ali's ready to go back, he'll get right back in. Slot's been always upfront about Alisson being number one, and Kelleher knows that. I think that's probably it. Like you mentioned, the seniority of Alisson and that trust that, you know, Konate and Van Dijk have. I think that's probably why Kelleher wants to go, because it's not his. Seems like Alisson just has like the rank of order. It's like obviously Van Dijk's captain, but anything goalie wise, like Alisson's like the one dictating. So like Kelleher, I don't think, it's almost like he needs some more seniority or some more experience being a first team. Yeah, he's not the leader from in between the posts. It's kind of Virgil like leading for him. So but as Anthony said, not to dismiss Kelleher because he's an excellent goalie. He's always filled in really well, but Alisson's fit, he has to be in net.
Yeah. And so, Drew, I'll stick with you. Right back has always been a bit of a quandary. Certainly over the last kind of 3-4 weeks, Bradley's maybe available. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's something that he'll come back for the next fixture. But is it too soon for him? And then that if it's not Bradley, then do you persevere with Curtis Jones? Do you have any concerns about Curtis Jones still being at right back? Or is Kwanzaa the kind of solution, just solidifies the defense away from home?
Yeah, I'm kind of actually leaning towards Kwanzaa just on the defensive attributes. For me, I think Curtis, the one kind of gripe I have against him is he holds onto the ball too long. Like he's not always looking to quickly move the ball. He's looking to set it himself as well. He wants to attract the defensive players from the opposition to him so he can open up space. I don't think that's something we want with the speed of Fulham's wingers.
Yeah.
Like you don't want someone dawdling on the ball in the back. And I think Kwanzaa will just be a lot more kind of old-fashioned defender about it. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards having Kwanzaa start, but everyone should be up for the game, whoever starts there.
Yeah, no, I totally get the situation with Curtis as well. I remember hearing the crowd when he held on to the ball in our second half a little bit too long, and I think it was just before we actually scored. So it can be a little bit frustrating when he's holding on to the ball. Not to say I'm a hater of Curtis Jones. I'm certainly not. I'm a strong believer in him, but there's certain times when he's looking either for a perfect pass or he's seen something a little bit too late where other players have made a move or he doesn't have that capability. I don't know what you think about Curtis there, Anthony, but would you kind of again stick with Curtis, or is this one of those cases where we just need to kind of make sure we're not dropping points? We want to. There's a record, and it sounds daft, but there's a record here as well, going undefeated away from home. It's something to be proud of, and we want to keep on doing that, don't we?
I mean, absolutely. I don't think the players are thinking before the season starts, let's break this record off being the only team who's unbeaten away from home. Like, I don't care if we're in the Premier League.
Nottingham Forest, man, Nottingham Forest, ruin it for everyone. We could have gone for the Invincibles, but
I know, but yeah, I would go with Kwanzaa. Like, I'm not against Jones starting right back, but I think it just makes more sense to be defensively solid away from home, because I think Jones, there was a time, maybe it is Alcaraz, I think his name is, from Everton. He made a dribble in, and Jones is not a natural defender, so he skipped past him quite easily. But yeah, I think Kwanzaa is probably the more obvious option. But I'm not against Jones starting there. I do like Curtis Jones, and I know you mentioned he holds on the ball for too long. And there was an instance where Salah made a very good run, and then in my head I was thinking a certain Alexander-Arnold would have made that pass, which we're maybe going to see what Alexander-Arnold brings to the team more without him in the actual team than when he is in there. But I think, I would personally actually start Jones in midfield. I think Szoboszlai has been a bit on and off lately, in my opinion. I think he's been off it. Yes, he offers good running power and all this stuff, but I think if we want to control a match away from home, Jones is the way to go. And like I said, I think Kwanzaa at right back, it probably makes us more defensively solid.
Yeah, and you got to remember who's playing for the opposition and the kind of talent that they have. Adama Traore, okay, maybe we haven't seen the best of him, but he's always been a handful for us. And so he could play on that left-hand side for them, attacking the right back. Sessegnon, I'm sure, still plays for Fulham, and I'm sure he's a capable player. Iwobi still plays for Fulham, and again, he's had a really, really good renaissance going to Fulham from his Arsenal and Everton days, where kind of lost his way. So they have the capabilities to kind of cause us problems if we're not on it. And I think right back is a really, really important position. We've seen over the years where if the right back position, and this isn't one of those things where we're calling out Trent, but when Trent's not on it, or he's been out, and we've had Joe Gomez, who has unfortunately has a moment in him, or Bradley isn't quite ready, hasn't had enough games, gets himself injured, kind of puts a lot of pressure on the rest of the team, the rest of the defense. It's just one of those things. So for me, I would like to have Kwanzaa in there because it just gives us that solidity, whether it's at corners or someone that has a little bit more of a mindset to be able to say, right, I can read this game. But I don't know if there's anything else there, Anthony, that you wanted to add.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the reverse fixture at Anfield, I think Anthony Robinson was killing it down that left-hand side for Fulham, right-hand side for us. Trent couldn't touch him. Trent was horrific in that match from memory. And then Gomez, I think when he came on, he was unbelievable. I know he's playing at centre-back, but I think there's a big difference when you have someone who actually knows what they're doing defensively. From maybe a positional sense, he knows, right, Anthony Robinson's going to make this overlap. But there's plenty of times where Everton players were making that overlap against us, and Jones didn't know what to do, I think. So that's why I think Kwanzaa is probably way better option going away from home, defo.
Yeah, and exactly. It's just that ability to read the game. They've been, I don't want to say manufactured, but they've been instructed over the years and coached to an nth degree that they need to be able to make this particular run, read in a particular way. So there's definitely things out there, and so yeah, there's a good point from Cryptic. Thank you for joining. And now to that defender, Jones did well, but yeah, I agree. Kwanzaa is a better shout, and I totally agree with that. I don't think there's any qualms as to who our central pairing in the middle of defence are. It's always going to be Virgil. It's always going to be Konate as long as they stay fit. So left back, is this an opportunity there, Anthony? I'll stick with you on this one, Anthony. Is this an opportunity to rest up Robertson and give Tsimikas maybe a run out, or do we kind of stick with Robertson and he can make amends after the calamity that he had earlier in the season against Fulham?
I think he's got to make amends. I think Tsimikas is good in certain matches, but defensively he's very, very shaky. If we think Robertson's suspect defensively, I think Tsimikas is even more so. He's been starting for us regularly as part of a proper back four, back five, whatever you want to say. So stick with Robertson. I think he's been really good for the second half of the season. So there's no reason to drop him. I know we could say rest, but you've already pointed out we only play one fixture each week now until the end of the season. So I'd start him.
Yeah, and it's kudos to Robertson there, Drew, isn't it? That, you know, the shaky 18 months that we've had with Andy. You know, and this is a guy that's given us absolutely everything since he kind of walked into the team. Well, got into the team following a Moreno injury, but he's allowed us to perform at such a high level for such a long time, and unfortunately, when that ability kind of starts to drop off, it's really noticeable. But he's got himself back to a really good standard. Not to say that it's the highest standard, the standard that he gave, you know, 18-19, the 17-18, and that period itself when we were challenging for leagues, winning leagues and winning Champions Leagues. But, you know, it's still a good enough position until the end of the season, when we can start to address that kind of weakness in that left back position. But, you know, we've got to match the play. Do you stick with Andy as well?
Yeah, I think it's a credit to Robertson's mentality to be able to like push on from that moment, because it definitely seemed like one of those things where like the mind or the body was like a second or two behind the mind. And like when that happens as a player, you're like, oh God, does he have the legs anymore? And he's kind of had to adapt, like, you know, not because he always was that aggressive player. I remember like kind of fell in love with the Liverpool fans when he pressed against Man City, like just went from the one man to the next, all the way to Ederson. And that's kind of how he played the game, was just ferocious the whole game. But when your body's not as quick, like the red card against Fulham earlier in the season is exactly what happened. So credit to him for adapting, you know, his game slightly. There's still going to be those odd moments where somebody's just outskills him, which isn't anything ever that he really could, you know, combat against fully. Like that was his weakness, if a player was more skillful than him or quicker. But Tsimikas, I think that Anthony said defensively, I just would, like, you're talking about Adama Traore, I would not want to see Tsimikas go up against Adama Traore if he shifted over to that side. As much as Tsimikas has some quality to offer, especially going forward defensively, I don't want to see him against Fulham's wingers. So
yeah,
Robertson for me.
And bless him, I really like. I think he is a very good personality in the squad. We've got a few of those where they're not going to be first teamers, but their ability to kind of G up. We had this with Adrian. I know we know Adrian the player, but maybe Adrian the personality within the squad and how he was able to kind of keep morale up is something that maybe Tsimikas does. He's obviously very, very good friends with Salah. You can see them at the coffee bar. Those videos, those pictures that we have on a regular basis. Tsimikas seems to spend a lot of his time at the coffee bar. You know, picking up Mo and whatever he needs to be doing, but he keeps everyone happy. He's a good personality, but maybe hopefully we see him before the season end. And again, one of those situations where if we are able to get a little bit of money for Tsimikas or or something along those lines, and we can then reinvest in a better an upgrade in that position is always going to be good. So let's see what happens there. But yeah, Andy Robertson, and also another thing, guys. If we're thinking of Joel Kwanzaa being a right back, and that kind of limits our attacking potency. Going forward from a right side, we do need something from the left hand side. So Andy does still allow that. He put in a really good ball in the second half against Everton. So he's still got that ability to bomb up and down the left hand side. So there is still that as well. So yeah, I totally agree. Andy Robertson, I think we agree about the back five itself, but midfield, Drew, time comes when we need to start thinking about bringing in other players, and this may be an opportunity for other players to come in. And one particular position I'm thinking of, I really want to kind of focus in on the number 10, the more attacking midfielder that we have within our midfield three. Szoboszlai, is he a player that kind of does it for you? I was a really big advocate of him, but recently something's happened where against more physical midfield engines, he's really struggled. Is this one of those situations where we do need to kind of look at other players coming in?
I'd be tempted to. I don't know if Slot will, because he seems to just stick with the same team. Like, I thought we were going to see changes against Everton. There's many times when I think we were all like, oh, like, let's throw in Harvey, or like, let's mix things up. Or
I just want to squad 15 players and that's it. That's Arne Slot's mantra, MO, isn't it?
Yeah, those extra 4 players are going to be subs. Like, they're not going to start. So that's kind of what it seems like from Slot. I really want Szoboszlai to work out, because I think he has all the attributes.
Same.
And then when you see him play for Hungary, it's like a different guy. But then you think of like the mantle of the number 8 for Liverpool, like what's expected. I don't know. Like, I hope he grows into it, but it's one of those ones where I feel like he himself, and probably Slot moving forward, will be more ruthless. Like, we've gotten lucky in a lot of ways in the league this year, but when you see how we've left out of competitions, one of the positions I would personally want to step up is that kind of number 10, that goal scoring midfielder. Like, if the attack's not working, you want that Szoboszlai just absolute screamer from 25 yards out, and we haven't seen that enough. I still think he's going to start, though. I think Slot will start him. But I like Anthony's shout, maybe put Jones up there as well, give him a run out, because I think he does like to be a little bit further up. I know the 8 more so for him, but maybe Elliott gets a shot. Other than that, like, I just honestly think Szoboszlai is going to start. Can't see past it.
No, I agree. Anthony, you shaking your head. I think you agreeing, or nodding your head, should I say. You agree with Szoboszlai probably playing. Whether you agree that he should be playing, that's a different question, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not completely against this guy. I think the comment here really is shows Szoboszlai's sport. He's a special talent. He is very talented. He's very elite. The problem is it comes in bursts and it comes against like specific opponents. But I noticed like against Newcastle in the cup final, his role was very non-existent. I can't remember anything significant he did in that match whatsoever. And same against Everton. I thought, yeah, he was decent. He got in the box one time, could have scored with a diving header, and he just didn't get contact on it. But you look at the matches against Man City away, unbelievable. Like, he's so talented. And matches like that, you kind of realise, right, he's worth the money. But on the flip side as well, you have to say he's still, 22, 23 years old. So much time on his side. You look at someone like Odegaard, I'm just spattering, sorry.
24.
Odegaard wasn't the best at the younger age, or maybe he just didn't have that sort of experience, but he's been given that opportunity at Arsenal, and obviously they're very different sort of style of 10s, or I guess the Szoboszlai is more for 8, I guess you would say, but they're very different style of players, and Odegaard's unbelievable in my opinion. And Szoboszlai isn't a typical 10, he's just a runner, but his ability is so good, but it's just, why have we not seen the best of him? It's very just on and off with him. But like I said, I'm not against him starting, but I think Jones, You know what it is with Jones? I just think he suits slot perfectly. And I did an expert analysis sort of video beginning of the season with someone who's covered slot before, and he was saying as well, Jones is probably the sort of quintessential slot player. Like the way he holds the ball up, he's good at making these runs forward and etc. And I thought Jones was brilliant first half of the season. McAllister's excellent as well. Gravenberch, them two in the pivot is unbelievable. So Jones isn't naturally a 10. So I think you've got to go with Szoboszlai, and obviously he has faith in Szoboszlai. He likes his running power. He always compliments him after matches about how good he is and stuff at pressing. But the pressing stuff, excellent. But where's the on the ball quality? And we need to see that more often, in my opinion.
So my theory about that, I think the reason why Szoboszlai is selected a lot more, again, not to take away his ability, I think he's very, very good and he has shown in bursts how good he can be. But I think it really comes down to the number 9 that we have. Now, he's persevered. So Slot has persevered with Jota. Jota is more technically minded than Nunes. Nunes is a runner. But he doesn't have it when it comes to particular positions to be able to execute what we need him to execute, right? But so he's persevered with Jota. But what is it that Jota doesn't have right now, unfortunately, and that's legs. Hasn't got the pace, hasn't got the ability to really make things happen on a regular basis. So my theory is the way that Slot can get the best out of Jota or this team in his vision is he needs someone like Szoboszlai to do the running in the higher position. Make it a 4 rather than a 3, and then a 3 midfield. So that's my theory. Why he kind of persevered with Dominic is because he needs that runner. Now, what happens in the summer when we get potentially a new striker who is a little bit more mobile, maybe has a bit more tenacity in tackle, but then also allows us to move forward? I'm thinking Ekitike. And I think he's a very, very good player and has the ability to do whatever we do. Maybe at that point, the number 10 becomes a different position where it's a bit more of a floater, has a bit more, ball playing ability, and kind of drops further back into the midfield, which then kind of shows what we're trying to do in the midfield. Because I think what we've seen against more aggressive man marking teams, i.e. PSG, against Newcastle, against Everton early this season, is that we've struggled in midfield because we don't have the physicality, and I don't think Dominic kind of gives us that right now. But that's the theory anyway. Why I think Dominic plays a lot more is because we just don't see enough from a striker position. But it's one of those. I totally agree. I think Szoboszlai will play. I think it's just because of the running ability that he gives us. So there is that. I'm guessing we both. So all 3 of us agree. Gravenberch will play. Maka will play as well.
Yeah, 2 best midfielders in the Premier League. Of course, they're going to play.
Yeah, definitely. Drew, go on.
I'd want to give Endo a match just because I feel like he deserves it.
Poor Endo.
He could come on for the last 5 minutes and
exactly.
secure us our 3 points. That's what you can do.
Things are going well when Endo comes on, because that's it. The job's done. So so we've kind of shored up the midfield. Put that away. The attack has always been a bit of an interesting conversation, and more so after the midweek win against Everton. Is that Drew? I'll stick with you. Let's go with that central player. That's going to be really, really important. Jota, it does seem Slot's kind of preferred choice. Is this again another opportunity for him to kind of cement his place in the squad for next season? He had a goal against Everton, a good goal, a very Diogo Jota type goal. He scored against Arsenal very, really similar in the past, where he took on a few players. They all ended up on their arse, and then he slots it. So maybe is this the opportunity that he's needed, and he can kind of push on, or is this one of those games where we need someone like Nunes to come in and try to disrupt rather than give us the goals that probably we hope for or need?
I'm always of the opinion that Nunez is the best as an impact sub because I think throwing him on
But
against
then
tired
Jota's an
legs.
impact sub as well, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's like a clinical finisher. Different kind of like
Yeah.
if you want to like throw chaos into the match, like you throw Nunez on. If you want like clinical, like someone to grab a chance, like a la Tottenham when they came back to make it 3-3, Jota's goal. Like if you want someone in that moment to finish, that for me is Jota. And then I'll give Nunez credit on bringing his levels up for like receiving the ball with his back to goal and then dumping it off, even though it looks like an old computer loading for how long it can take him sometimes. I don't mean to be mean for Nunez. I think he would thrive in the right system. I just don't think it's the slot system. Whereas Jota has much more technical ability on the ball. In the press conference, Slot was talking about how the game against Everton, you're seeing that clinical Jota that, just because he's fit doesn't mean he's Premier League sharp. I don't want to make the excuses now because I'm kind of over the fact that he's never been available for a full season. So I really think like if either him or Nunez, I think it's almost past time to where they're considered starting striker for next season. I think that needs to be addressed. You need a striker available every single game at their best, like contributing more than I don't know if either of them have hit 10 goals in the Premier League this season, but that's my kind of bar. Not even that's the lowest of the low bar, but for tomorrow's game, Jota, just because his technical ability on the ball and what you're saying with Dominic, like with his runs into the box, Jota kind of drops deep, can receive the ball and likes to turn and move onto the ball, kind of spread it out. I just think he offers more against an opposition that's going to be well structured, well disciplined, and then Nunez at the end of the match, like I think he could very well could be like 0-0, 1-1, throw Nunez on last 15 minutes of the game, he scores kind of thing. But Jota for me will always start above Nunez.
And I wonder if if Slot has missed a trick here with not playing Chiesa enough. We've seen in the League Cup final, the position that Chiesa took his goal really, really well was that central position. He's kind of persevered the line that Chiesa is Salah's kind of sub, and Salah doesn't really kind of miss games unless it's kind of a cup match, or he's away on international duty with AFCON and stuff like that. So Salah's kind of his availability kind of hinders other players coming in, and it's always possibly been a situation where we haven't looked at replacements for Salah because he's just so good, and I'm never going to doubt Salah's ability. But have we missed a trick by not starting Chiesa in different positions? I don't know what you guys think. Anthony, I don't know if you've got a thought about that.
I wouldn't say so because we are top of the Premier League by 12 points or 11 now. But it's just one of them. I think he's had his fitness concerns coming into the season. He was a very questionable transfer, I must say. I was surprised we even went for him. I remember I woke up and one day we signed Chiesa. It's like, okay. It didn't excite me, but we know he's had quality like we've seen against Newcastle, but I think context matters to that match. I think people say Salah played poorly, Jota played poorly, Diaz did, but they didn't get the ball to be able to say it was because they were poor, because I think when they did have the ball, something happened. Like towards the very end, Jota probably even should have scored, I think, off the first half. And Chiesa just had that opportunity where he was through on goal, Newcastle just defending for their lives. So obviously we got more of the ball, and naturally our attackers will have more of the ball as well. So I think we might see him towards the end of the season, just if the league is already clinched. But I don't think Slot's under the impression where it's like, oh, the league's already done and dusted. Like they need to make sure they do get over the line. So Salah's obviously always going to start for us. But in terms of striker, I agree with Drew like completely. Nunez, what you said earlier as well, Charlie. Like Jota's technically, he's got that more better mental side to him than Nunez does. I think everyone has a better mental side than Nunez does. This guy doesn't have any brain cells when it comes to anything. I think he's a very good athlete, all the attributes that you want in a striker, but he can't finish. He can't finish, as simple as that. So he's not going to be a Liverpool striker, and he won't be here next season. Jota, on the other hand, I think a lot of his injuries do get blown out of proportion, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a bit biased because I like Jota just from Wolves as well. But I think you look at the one earlier in the season against Chelsea. Colwill was it who fell on his rib cage? He was out for 3 or 4 months for that. The one against Brentford before that, I think it was Reguilon.
Another player just landed on top of him. Grox.
Yeah, so he's out for 4 months, and then there was another one where someone fell on him and he was out for another 4 or 5 months. It's like, so I think he's had very long-term injuries, so it makes it look like he's always getting injured. But I think it does get blown out of proportion. I think he's been injured maybe twice this season, but just for long spells. So I think Jota's he's unbelievable in front of goal, and I think he scored against Fulham maybe last season. I might be wrong in saying that, but
earlier this season.
This season, sorry, yeah, it was a good goal as well, actually, and then he started pointing to the Liverpool badge. So Jota's definitely number one, Salah as well, and then I would personally go Gakpo. I do think Diaz gets a lot of hate and very unwarranted hate, but I think Gakpo just maybe rotate it, and Gakpo's been excellent this season, probably our second best forward, so I'll give him a chance as well.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure about why Diaz gets a little bit of heat. I think he was unfortunate to be put in position of central striker because Jota was injured and Nunes just unfortunately just wasn't able to handle the pressure of being central striker for Liverpool. Again, does everything else really well from a defensive perspective, tracking and harassing of the opposition players, but when it comes to what we need him to do, just isn't able to capitalize on those positions. So yeah, and that's just one of those things. But when it comes to Diaz, yeah, he scored a hat-trick against Leverkusen. Yeah, against them, and then a couple of really good goals against Spurs. Now, the reason why, looking at the way that those two teams perform is the opposition play quite a high line, and that allows for Diaz, who's a very, very smart and capable player, to make those bend-in runs, and that's why he performed so well against those two teams in particular. Whereas the rest of the league, probably 75%, 80% of the league drop, and that doesn't really allow Nunes and his capabilities to shine. And I think that's where he's just got caught out. But he played really, really well since he's moved back to the left, and since Cody's kind of had to take a little bit of leave of absence. But Drew, what would you go with in terms of the left sided? Is this one of those opportunities? We've just played a really, really tough game against Everton. Gakpo is a little bit more fresher. Again, it's just coming to that time of year where we just want to get through these league games, keep everyone fresh. I know it's one league game after this. Sorry, one league game per week after this one. But it's just an opportunity. Let's kind of kill off the game, and the best way to do that is go with your fresher players.
I think Cody's just due a start. Like, he just came off injury, so kind of reminds me of Allison, where I think that Cody is slots number one on the wing, on the left wing at the very least. And I'm very curious to see if that theory proves right, because as you said earlier, Diaz started up top when Jota was out and Cody on the left. He didn't try to force Cody to play up front. We know Klopp did that a lot. We know that he's sometimes done that for Netherlands, but his best position, as he said himself, is left wing. Slot has kind of shown reinforcement of that statement by playing him always on the left, and I think it's going to be that case where he's Slot's left wing, starting left wing until further notice. So if he's fit enough to start a game, I think he will start. I think he's got that hunger for goal as well. I do agree with you both. Diaz gets a lot of unwanted criticism. I think his game's he's very good at attacking players, like very good at creating. I think his end product has always been under question. That final, doesn't seem like he's a lethal goal scorer, but he does offer a lot of qualities on the ball. Whereas Cody, I think, is that lethal goal scorer. His trademark just cut in, almost Coutinho, kind of try to curl it far post. He might do that like 3-4 times a game and miss wildly, but then he hits it. So I really like to see a player who wants to score a goal, and I think that's what you need in every game, is enough players who want to score, and Cody will add that to the game tomorrow.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So let's kind of end up with because we're getting to 45 minutes. Let's just get some score predictions and we'll call it a day and let everyone enjoy the rest of the evening because the sun's out. Might as well just make the most of it while it lasts, gents. So Anthony, let's go with you. What score predictions for tomorrow?
I will go. I think it'll be very tight. Obviously, I think it'll be 2-1 Liverpool. Predictions who score? I reckon Jota gets a goal, and hopefully Mo Salah does. So Salah assist as well. So hopefully he could break Henry's record.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's coming to that part where, again, more awards, more things that Mo's probably thinking about, not at the front of his mind, but something at the back of his mind because he's always looking at the records, or it's put out there only Mo Salah. That's kind of the regular line that we hear about him, and so there's going to be something there. So only Mo Salah is going to get these top awards. So, Drew, score prediction.
I was gonna go selfish because I did not captain Salah in FPL, and then Anthony was
no.
just like the Henry record. I was like, oh yeah, because I'd rather have him that than any hopes of my fantasy team. But I normally, the 2 times I've done score predictions, we lost or drew. But I'm gonna try to break that hoodoo. But if we lose or draw tomorrow, you'll know who to blame. I'm gonna just piggyback on Anthony though. I think 2-1 is probably spot on, just because I think it's gonna be a lot tougher than people will want. And then let's go Salah 2 goals just to give him that, or 2 assists, 2 goals, and if it's 2 assists, Cody and Jota for me.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. I was thinking 1-0, but I think we'd like a score 2-0. We really do well. I don't think Fulham are as intense, as good as what they were earlier in the season when we first played them. And I think, again, Robertson's in a better place since then, as long as we kind of play Kwanzaa in the right back, shore up in that respect, and everyone's on their games. I'm looking at you, Verge. Just make sure that you are kind of playing on at the top of your game. Nothing's been decided. Then yeah, I can't see why we should or would concede. I think 1-0, 2-0 is. I'm happy with that. But at the end of the day, it's Liverpool win. It means another 3 points to that magic 11 because that's what we're down to, guys. We're in the home stretch as we started in this particular stream, but I just really want to thank Drew for coming on today. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of you guys. Anthony, yeah, again, absolutely love having you on the stream today. Really good introduction to myself. I'm really glad that we finally got to meet, and hopefully again we'll do a lot more streams because we're thinking about how we can improve this channel and what we're looking to do in the future. So there's a few things in the pipeline. I'm speaking to the right guys, and I think it's really exciting. So I just want to say to everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. It's been brilliant comments. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes, drop in your score predictions, plays that you want to see start tomorrow or for the rest of the season, and we'll be back soon. Hopefully we can do something tomorrow after a really good win, or certainly a match review very soon. But yeah, just want to say thank you, enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night all.